If you were paying attention to the Olympic Games in Italy, you saw some of the best that every country around the world has to offer. And today we have one of the athletes here joining us. We have Mystique Ro, a skeleton, I guess slider? How do you say it?
Yeah, skeleton athlete, yeah.
Now, Kendall, you set this thing up. Kendall Gordon joining me on the couch today. Kendall, why don't you start us out here?
Yes, of course, Mystique. First of all, we're so excited to have you on the couch today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This is amazing.
Yes, we're really incredible to have you here, truly. But first, to start off, for people just getting to meet you, who is Mystique Ro outside of your Olympic title?
So I am a general millennial. I went to college, I went to school for track and field. I'm one of 11 siblings. I have eclectic tastes and hobbies, cross-stitching, reading, just normal everyday things, and I happen to do a very extreme sport.
Yes, it's definitely an extreme sport for sure. So for people who don't know what skeleton is, can you describe it a little bit?
Yes, the best way I can describe skeleton is we're just human penguins. So we slide head first on our bellies, and we go up to 80 plus miles an hour.
How do you determine that this is the thing that I'm going to do? I'm going to pursue this. You said you were a track athlete. How do you go from the track side of things to putting your head first down and going down the ice?
It definitely was not my first pick. I did track and field. I was hoping to try to go higher level and from collegiate, and one of the pilots, Alana Myers-Taylor, who actually just won the gold medal in the monobob, was recruiting athletes for brakemen for bobsled. And I had heard about bobsled from Cool Runnings, which everyone usually does. And so I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And I did the combine, and I had a good time. And then they invited me to Lake Placid, and then they saw me like, you're kind of small. You should try skeleton. And I looked at skeleton, I was like, no way. I'm not doing that. There's absolutely no way. Well, give it a shot. So I did the initial combine and wanted to get invited back for driving school. That's when they kick you off the mountain about halfway up, and I was like, this is not for me. And we're going like 35 miles. I'm like, this sucks. I'm not doing this. But I gave myself a moment on the ride up to like, well, it wasn't that bad. I didn't hit everything. You know, we can probably go a little bit smoother. So it starts to grow on you over time. And then you realize you have an aptitude for a certain element of the sport, and then you kind of like it because you're there, not because it's like my first pick, you know? So I got rejected from bobsled, and then I found skeleton.
Wow. When you made that shift and transition, what would you say, what was that first step like for you? Like, how did the training go? Like, where did you go from there?
Yeah, I think a lot of people were like, how do you train for skeleton? Like, what do you do? Like, there's no ice in the summer naturally. Right. So I'm a track and field athlete, so a lot of my training was just doing track and field stuff. So I sprinted, I lifted, and I would try to push when I could. So we have a sled simulator at the Lake Placid venue where we push on rails. But then we just built this really nice venue around COVID, and we can push on ice now. So we get to push quite a bit of volume during the summertime, and we slide in the winter. So in the summer, we do mine runs. It's like just laying on the sled or laying on a flat surface, like planking. Imagine planking, a big trend back in the day. And you just lay on your belly, and you just kind of mentally go through the run and kind of just practice the reps that way so you get comfortable. And then you get back on ice, and then it's like a smoothish transition.
So you, and obviously the whole American team, practices at Lake Placid, it sounds like, for a lot of what you're preparing for. Then you go over to Italy. How different are the tracks? How different is preparation? How do you get used to a new place? Is it all the same kind of turns that you're used to? Are they all different? What's that?
Every track is unique, which is very challenging, honestly. So we spend a lot of time in Lake Placid, which is one of the most technical tracks in the world. And no one in the U.S. program for skeleton actually got to do the test event in Cortina. So this was a first time for everybody, and it was very eye-opening. Like, we had plenty of video to look at, but the video is nowhere near the same as actually feeling it. So we get on the track, and it's a very different style. There's some elements that are similar to other tracks we've been to, like Beijing or Korea, and some elements of Eagles, Austria, but it's very unique. And I think that was what kind of made it more challenging, because we came in with expectations, like we're just going to glide a certain way, and it was not having it. I think if you look back in some of the video, Curve 2 gave people a lot of problems. So it was like, normally you get the complications towards the middle, bottom of the section of the track, but we were getting chewed up at the top. So it really, you have to step back and kind of rethink what you know about the sport and rethink how you approach. So it was very challenging for a lot of people, for sure. So it just gave us a run for the money.
Well, I have roughly 57 million more questions for you, so we're going to take a quick break here. Don't go anywhere. We have more with Mystique Ro coming up right after this here on CoastLife. We are back here on the couch. Kendall Gordon joining me today, and our big guest, our special guest, Mystique Ro. She is in the skeleton for the Olympics, just got back from Italy quite recently. And Kendall, I know you've got some more questions here.
Oh, I have a bunch of questions, Charlie. So yeah, like we kind of picked off with the last segment. We were talking about when you first arrived to the Olympics, and I want you to kind of take me back to that moment. When did it first hit you, like, oh my gosh, I'm at the Olympics, and how are you feeling?
Yeah, so it was a journey to qualify and get there. But when we finally finished in Altenburg and we were heading over from our holding camp, we got to Italy and it was just like, we made it, we're here. It was just such a fun experience just to be able to be in the village with everybody.
Yeah.
Now, you've got connections here in Delaware.
I do.
What is that connection first?
Yeah, so my mom moved here a couple years ago to Millsboro, and she's kind of been embedded here. And whenever I come down from sliding or just training, this is like a nice little home base for me, and I get to be in Rehoboth and Millsboro, and kind of the food has been amazing. I just love it. It's awesome.
And you said you have 11. You're one of 11?
I'm one of 11.
So
yes.
obviously, I'm guessing not everybody is making the trip all the way over to Italy. So how did your family, watch or support you, or how did they just, follow what was going along on the other side of the world as you were chasing your Olympic dream?
Yeah, so I actually was trying to keep my mom involved. She's as a mom would be nervous, like your kid's going 80 miles an hour head first. So she would kind of be on a 2-week lag with Instagram and like, I'm not there anymore, I'm going to the next location and such. But as we get to the Olympics, we kind of branched into her friend group, and they actually hosted a really awesome watch party at the Crab Barn. And that was really fun. I didn't even know how big it was until I saw a little shot in the corner, and they were cheering and just going crazy. And obviously I'm sliding, but I saw the after. I was like, wow, you guys had a fun part. I wish I was there. And they just had an ice sculpture. They had music, DJ. They had the works, and they were just having a good old time. So it was really awesome to see them just be able to embrace that. And then later on, I was on the internet, and I saw people like, I didn't know Delaware had Olympians like that. I'm like, well, it's a little special occasion. They show out for us, but no, it was really cool. It's just it's a nice conversation piece. And like, well, how did you get into it? What did you do? Like, what would make you do this? And I was like, there's no logic. There's absolutely no logic to throw yourself down a mountain. And as I mentioned, I don't like roller coasters. I don't speed. I don't do anything. And it's just like, why? My mom was for years, why are you doing this? I'm like, why not? And any way possible, I want to be an Olympian, and I literally any means necessary. I figured it out, and it was just, I don't like the cold either, and it's just like, you just make it work. So it's just, there's so many things that are leading up, and it's just like, you can, if you just persevere and just deal with it, and you can find little hacks to it, you make it work.
Yeah.
So as a reporter, I've been to an Olympics. I went to Sochi. I saw what it's all
awesome.
about.
Yeah.
You see the pomp, the circumstance. There's athletes everywhere. There's fans. There's reporters. There's all sorts of stuff, and it is, the pinnacle of what you've wanted to achieve your whole life.
Yeah.
But then you have to go still effectively compete. How do you compartmentalize those things until you're done competing?
So what's unique is the schedule. There's just so much time you spend at the venue, so much time you're doing video, so much time you're doing training and preparation for equipment. The place we stashed our equipment was there and back was a mile and a half walk. So I'm like, I don't have time to be on my phone. I'm walking and I'm sanding runners and do all this stuff. But there's just so much logistics stuff. But obviously when you wind down for the night, TikTok is forever, and it's just there's a rabbit hole. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on in Milan? What's going on in the next venue? So there's just so much stuff, and I think it's you just clock in, clock out mentally. You've worked so hard to get to this point. You want to make sure you do everything you due diligence, but you also have to have a moment to reset and laugh a little bit and go through the kit. I think I had a video where I was talking about my kit. I'm like, I need to find the right size for this jacket, and it was massive on me, and that was a good find, good hoot, but it's just, there's time and place, I think. It's just finding that balance.
Do you still get nervous, or is it second nature at this point?
I think anyone who says that they're not nervous is not telling the truth. I think there's always going to be those little bit of butterflies. And actually, I would say Sigulda is a track that is notorious for taking bodies, claiming bodies. But I think this is my first year. I wasn't nervous at the line, but I respect the track. But I also made some miscalculations, and I paid for it because I fell on my back in a couple of runs. So it's one of those things where the risk, but when you get to the line, you have to believe. It's almost fake it till you make it. Even some of the best in the world have trouble with certain tracks. So it's challenging to know going in, especially if I'm training. I'm racing at full speed, and there's no breaks. So we're gonna just send it and hope for the best. And a lot of time it's that balance of finding that calm, because like I call it my me time. Like there's no one's contacting me. This for 1 minute I have quiet, and it's just me and the sled. And it's very challenging if you have all these distractions and noises. So you have to quiet the mind and find the zen, which is very contradictory to going 80 miles an hour at first. So you have to find that balance, because I can't explain this to my mom. She won't never believe me on this. But it's one of those things where when we talk to other athletes about, we feel it, and it's just like when you find it, it gets addictive because you want to keep chasing it. So you don't always get it, but when you do, it's like it's amazing.
Yeah. And Mystique, for those who might be out there watching, kids who are looking up to you, what's that first step that they should take if they do want to follow in your footsteps?
I would say try. Honestly, like the window of time where I did bobsled, when I tried it for bobsled skeleton, I told myself before any of this craziness came to my plate, I was like, just say yes, try new things, be open-minded, and just see what happens. And the most random sport got dropped in my lap, and I was like, sure, why not? And this is before you look at as an adult, you see bills, and I'm like, oh my gosh, just try. And essentially, what the one thing we remembered when we do the sport, especially when we do really well, is you're sliding. This is what kids get to do. This is what fun. So work doesn't have to be, painful or stressful. It could be fun. It could be something you enjoyed as a kid or your passion. And I think that's the main thing. And for me also, I also want to be an Olympian, but you want to have fun. You want to enjoy the process of trying something new and seeing where it takes you and just being open-minded.
We'll get you out on this one. You're now a one-time Olympian. Is there anticipation? Is there effort to be a multi-time Olympian?
We are already planning for Le Plan 2030 in France, so I would say yes, that's the goal for sure.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the couch. Thank you for sharing your story. I really appreciate too what you said there about just try.
Yeah.
Give things a shot.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we are going to take a break here. Don't go anywhere. There's more Coast Life still to come right after this.